Good morning, friends and family. I want to be doing a video of Y2K. Back in the days, it happened so fast. There's a lot of crazy people imagining the end of the world, and it wasn't just one specific culture. It was everybody, and I remember being in San Luis Rio Colorado, Sonora, when it happened. The Aztec pyramid was gonna end, and that was a real Y2K. It happened like in 98 or 99, and all the projects, that computers, everybody was gonna just shut down. Airplanes and everything was gonna start falling from the sky. You know what I mean? So I want to talk about that. And it was an exciting time to live, and it was an exciting time to be human. It was a biblical. It was scholarships, persons that really dissected the Aztec pyramid, and so keep in touch. I'm gonna go ahead and start telling the story. It's gonna take me some time, but bear with me, and you're gonna enjoy all the stupid stuff that we lived and we got to enjoy. So I just want everybody to know that I lived it. It's not a fairy tale. And it was crazy. It was crazy. So, the story starts like this.
General state of either denial, complacency, or even apathy about both the reality and the potential effects of Y2K.
By the end of the 90s, many of us were happy slaves to our computers. But our new masters had a trick they'd forgotten to tell us about.
The basic idea on Y2K was that for convenience, all these computer programs, when it came to do dates, you only needed 2 numbers. Why use 4 numbers when you only need 2? And then they recognized, what date is a computer going to think it is when we get to 2000?
One simple date change for man, one major screw-up for computer.
At the stroke of midnight, January 1st, 2000, elevators may stop. Heat may vanish. Credit cards and ATMs may cease to function. Airplanes and trains may come to a halt.
People were terrified the world was going to end.
This is not one of the summer movies where you can close your eyes during the scary parts.
With nearly everything in our economy run by computers, the prospect of a digital meltdown is too huge to contemplate.
I was worried because the whole computer game was new to us, and I was a little ignorant.
We didn't know what we didn't know.
And many thought what we didn't know was going to hurt us.
I've got a revolver right now, but I wanted something more.
That was a dragon's breath shell. It can shoot a 4,000-degree flame 300 feet. It's also the most popular ammunition among Y2K customers at KGS Guns and Ammo.
There was a fear. Everything's in the internet. Everything's in computers. And we're going to lose it all. And Jesus is coming back.
With pre-millennium tensions growing, the president appoints a crisis management expert to prevent a Y2K meltdown.
8 to 10% of the population were fairly confident that this was going to be an apocalypse. The president called me one night and said, here's an office and an assistant, and don't let the world stop.
If you're a millennial or older, you probably remember the mass panic that descended on the world at the end of the 20th century. The simply named Y2K problem threatened to destroy computing as we knew it. Newscasters predicted that banks would collapse, hospitals would fail, planes would fall out of the sky, and anything connected to a computer, and really anything powered by electricity, was expected to stop working, unless immediate actions were taken to prevent the dreaded millennium bug. The problem at the time was fairly straightforward. Most programs written by that point represented the year with just the last two digits. 1998 was represented as 98, 1999 as 99, and so on. The reason for this dates back to the earliest days of computing in the 1960s, when the cost for memory was as high as $1 per bit. Translated to today, a single iPhone's 4GB memory would cost $32 billion, or $250 billion when adjusted for inflation. So anytime programmers could use fewer bits, it was immensely cost-saving. If you could represent the date and save $2 every time, the choice to use just the last two digits was a no-brainer. But fast forward 40 years, and now it's New Year's Eve in 1999, and your alarm clock, microwave, train timetable, and life support machine are all about to think that the next day is January 1st, 1900. And this was expected to cause widespread crashes, ranging from inconvenient to totally devastating. If a plane takes off on autopilot in 1999, how does it know to land in the year 2000 if its onboard computer says 1900? At the time, it was kind of a ridiculous way to look at computer processing. But when facing a global worst-case scenario, people were pretty freaked out that planes would just start to fall out of the sky. As a result of the panic, a huge effort to patch and update computer systems was enacted. A number of governments passed legislation to promote and fund the changeover. In the US, Congress passed the Year 2000 Information and Readiness Disclosure Act, and each federal agency had its own Y2K task force. By the time the clock struck midnight in the year 2000, it was estimated that between $100 billion and $300 billion were spent mitigating the problem. So, what happened? Well, from the view of popular culture, nothing. In the 2 decades since, Y2K is regarded as a joke, an overblown hysteria with nothing to show for the money spent and the panic it caused. That may be what you believe after the collective sigh of relief on January 1st, 2000. But you and pop culture historians are wrong. First of all, the view that nothing went wrong as a result of Y2K is incorrect. One very sad result was that the UK's National Health Service made a significant miscalculation in a test that notified expectant mothers of their child's risk for Down syndrome. The Y2K bug caused the test to calculate the mother's age incorrectly. So, tests performed between January and May of 2000 led to 154 false results. 4 children with Down syndrome were born to women who had been told that they were low risk, and 2 terminations were performed on women who were deemed high risk. And that wasn't the only negative effect on January 1st. In South Korea, nearly 1,000 families had their heat go out in the dead of winter due to the bug. And it was reported that in Egypt, multiple dialysis machines stopped working. But the long-term impact of Y2K wasn't just a few failures. More importantly, it was the many successes. Y2K was arguably the first ever mass audit of a global computing network that had been running for decades. In the process of patching the date bug, programmers discovered countless other bugs as they combed through the code, serving as a backbone for the internal and external network that we all use today. The redundancies put into place were not only necessary, but turned out to be literally life-saving. For example, the robustness of New York City's telecommunications and transit in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks has been attributed to the amount of work put into avoiding the Y2K bug. A number of redundancies and audits that were not in effect before Y2K have been credited with helping the recovery efforts from being overwhelmed on 9/11. The long and short of it is that Y2K is widely considered an example of over-preparation with nothing to show for it. But like many efforts to avoid disaster, the best case scenario is that nobody feels the effects at all. Sure, it was unlikely that planes would literally fall out of the sky, but had nothing been done at all, it's not unlikely that major computer systems would have failed. The few failures that did occur were easy to deal with because everything else was working. But if those failures occurred everywhere and all at once, the reaction could have been exponentially worse and much, much harder to fix. The lasting moral of Y2K shouldn't be of an overblown panic, but of a successful and necessary global effort to avoid a known problem. The lessons we learned are applicable even today. But with the mocking view of the Millennium Problem, we may not be motivated enough to act on them anymore.
So today we're gonna So continuing the story about Y2K. Well, I was about 16, 17 years old when it happened, you know. And I was in San Luis Rio, Colorado, Sonora. It was the days and that all magical things used to happen. And we used to cruise and damos in the clubs and partying and doing everything that we supposed to do at that age. And I remember there was a burst of people, and they had just assassinated Colosio and everything. And there was in San Luis, Colorado, they started the U.S. enforcement. Yeah, they had just started crossing the border and detaining all these trucks that were stolen and confiscating all the trucks. And there was about to be a shootout, and it was like hectic times, you know what I mean? Little did we know that our world was gonna change, you know? Well, through the news, through the newspapers, through everywhere, through all the people, through all the chismosos, through all the gente, they were talking about that it was before, because the Aztec pyramid map, they started, scholars and everything, they started dissecting and exactly the time and the date. Well, they concluded that it wasn't in the 2000. It was going to be in 1999, because they changed the times and all that. And so the Aztec map, it was in 1999. So I remember the day. It was me and Tavo. Me and Tavo were always together, and Jojo and Antonieta, but me and Tavo, I remember I used to be with Veronica, and me, Tavo, Vero, and Vero's friend were in the either on the van or on the truck, and we headed out that night to the Cruising Boulevard to see what's up, what was going to happen, what was going on. And thousands of people were outside. Everybody had bought water, food, candles. Everyone was looking to the sky. Something amazing was going to happen. Like idiots, alright? Like pendejos. And we're waiting at least a couple airplanes to fall and the border to shut. And there was a lot of immigrants that they're massing to cross the border and come to the United States. And Border Patrol were like ready. On these days, they rush the border like nothing. They close the borders and all that. Well, that day, it was something spectacular. I remember I had like $1,000 on me, and me and Vero, we're living the time of our lives. We wasted every single dollar. All my savings that I had, I wasted it. I rented a hotel. We went clubbing, and me, Vero, and Tavo and her friend. Tavo got hooked up by her friend, and Yadira se llamaba. And next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock, and we're like, countdown, one more hour. And I remember we're in the Colorado Boulevard, and we're waiting. All the cars stopped. I say it's happening. The end of the world is coming. And I remember we parked the car. We started drinking and getting all crazy. I remember we're on top of the... Yeah, it was a pickup. We're on top of the pickup, and in the back. And the cars didn't move and nothing. And we started counting from 8 o'clock. Because 9 o'clock was going to be supposedly the end of the world, you know? So 9 o'clock hit, and we all, like, in the middle of the boulevard. We partied for like 3 hours, and there was vatos that had guns and shooting on the air. Now, no one giving a fuck. The cops were even, they wouldn't even carry it. It was awesome. It was crazy, And I remember after 3 hours, yes, he said on the 12 o'clock, and we had to go home all sad and all like todos caídos and feeling like shit because it didn't happen. We didn't see the end of the world. We were so drunk that after that we went to the hotel, and it was probably one of the most magical nights that I could ever recall. Me and Vero, not only did we say we love each other and we're always going to be there for each other and we're going to grow old, this time our kids are gonna just like know that night was our night and it was our special night. And I remember Vero got in trouble because her family wanted her to be home that day, and she decided to spend it with me, and she didn't care. She was old already, but she didn't care. She didn't want to spend it with her mom the last day of the civilization, you know. She wanted to spend it with me, and I should always remember hugging her, kissing her, and being with her. And I wish I knew a little more of her, what happened to her, if she had a miscarriage or a kid, or I don't know. I really never looked into it. After that, her mother, she hated me more now, you know, and because she chose me, and so after that we waited for the next year, which now is the 2000. Now it's supposed to be the real Y2K. But we didn't make a big thing out of it anymore. The second Y2K, I didn't spend it in San Luis. I spent it in LA with Reddy and the rest of the crew over here, you know. And it wasn't as big as 1999. The news and everything already was like, everybody was like cool. And the reason I got so big and so famous, because back then computers, like, the memory of them, they didn't have the capacity to keep growing, you know, at the rate that they were going. It was the stages of Al Gore and all that, the elections, but it wasn't as big as the Y2K 1999. I just wanna always remember where I was, who I was with, and I hope that everybody had a good time and didn't believe all the stuff that was happening and going on, you know. So I just wanted you guys to know that I lived it. I was there. After that, the Twin Towers, the 9/11 hit, and my world changed right after that, because my tios and my cousins, everybody got busted. Then I got stabbed right after Y2K, about 6 months later. And my life changed drastically, and I made the best out of myself. But I'll never ever again. Y2K.